Words so sharp, they cut right through. Real talk for the soul's appeal. Prayers rise up the wounds they heal. Lift our voices to the sky. A righteous perspective high. On this path we won't back down. For the Father wears the crown. Each step brings another fight. Breaking chains, we're seeking light. Voice of power won't be tamed. With his love, we're never shamed. Lift our voices to the sky. A righteous perspective high. On this path we won't back down. For the Father wears the crown. From the ashes we shall rise. Hope is found deep in our eyes. Every word a battle cry. With the Father none deny.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday to you all. Welcome to ARP in the morning, a righteous perspective in the morning. Appreciate you guys pulling up. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you hit that like button for me. Hey, it doesn't cost to be here, but the only price of admission that I ask is that you guys hit that like button. I don't know if you guys can hear some noise in the background, but there's people doing some work in my house today. But I still wanted to make sure that I was able to come out and have this broadcast because I like to be consistent. I'm a person that likes structure and I like consistency. And that's why I try not to be all over the place, with the live streams. I like the one time, and that way it gives me the opportunity to plan, plot, and strategize to make sure that I can be here, and do a broadcast like this Monday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. So appreciate you all pulling up this morning. I want to show some love, real fast before we get the show started. Obviously, today we are going to watch the Elon Doge interview that Brett Barr put off from Fox. I know a lot of you guys have probably had opportunity to check out some clips. Maybe some of you guys have watched the entire thing, and some may have not. And this is your first time seeing it, but I just thought it made sense. I was going to do it on Friday, but because I had the panel interview, I didn't get a chance to do it. So I decided, you know what, let's make that Monday show and get into it. So, I definitely want to do that. And I think it'd be, just nice to go through, check it out. There's so many people out there, just lying about what Doge is doing. The people asked for this. And to be honest with you, there's been a plethora of politicians that have said over the years that we've needed to do this. Even those on the left had talked about doing it. I mean, Schumer's talked about it. Pelosi's talked about it. Even dating back, into the 80s and 90s, this is a conversation that's being had. President Trump is the first president to actually have the cojones to say, you know what, we are doing this. We are doing this. And we know it's going to hurt a little bit, but it has to be done. But before we get things kicked off, man, I want to show some love. Shout out to PK Krillin. Shout out to you, brother. First in the chat, 8:08 this morning. And I'm going to read what he says, man. Good morning, brother and ARP family from Savannah, Tennessee. I'm a little sickly today, but I'm going to try to watch all of it, man. Shout out to you, brother. God bless you in the name of Jesus. You are healed. Get better. What up, Scott Young? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up this morning as always. Big Job Ford in the building. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Amber Young, how you doing today? Appreciate you. And shout out to the Blues. Shout out to Zephyr K9 and shout out to B. Appreciate you all pulling up, keeping things civil in the chat. Shout out to my lovely wife. Shout out to you, Miss Crystal. How you doing How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. You know, she watches me and critiques me. She definitely does, but I do appreciate it and love you, baby. Thank you. George Hayden, appreciate you pulling up this morning. What's up, Redefined Queen? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What up, Larry Montgomery? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. Thea's Fly High. Christy from the Shy. What's up with you, sister? Appreciate you pulling up. What up, Lewis Tony? Appreciate you pulling up this morning, brother. What up, Lori Otson. How you doing this morning, sister? Appreciate you pulling up. Mary Ann, thank you very much for pulling up. Peace and blessings to you this morning as well. What up, Ed Mar? How you doing this morning, brother? What's going on with you? How you doing? Hope all is well down there in Mississippi. Scott 8T8, Milwaukee in the building. What up, Brian? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up as well. What up, Nina? How you doing this morning, sister? Appreciate you pulling up. MPO Creations in the building. She said, I was away for business, got in early this morning, but she's here. Shout out to you, man. Appreciate you pulling up. Thank you. Thank you. Hope the business trip went well, too. Hopefully. What's up, Marla? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. Thank you very much. Hey, Christy, when the song comes on, especially when the main theme song, I know it, and I sit here and I jam and I rock out to it when it plays, and I find myself singing to it as well. So appreciate you. What up, Sharon? How you doing this morning? James Reddick, Wild Card Adventures Blair. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Thank you very much. What up, Donald Lovejoy? Appreciate you pulling up. What's going on, Soul Driver? How you doing this morning, brother? Kenny G in the building. Y'all make sure y'all go check out pistyle.store. Check out my brother over there, man. He has some really, really dope t-shirts and things of that nature over there, man. Go check them out, man. Appreciate you. What up, Ginger Snap Actress? Appreciate you pulling up this morning, sister. Thank you very much. And shout out to Gerard Coswell with the $5 super chat. He says here, God is my refuge and strength, mighty and impenetrable to temptation, a very present and well-proved help in trouble. Psalm chapter 46, verse 1. Thank you, brother, for the $5 super chat. Appreciate you. Thank you very much for supporting the channel, as always. What up, Baby Lungs? How you doing this morning? Burnsville, Minnesota in the building. What's going on with you? What up, Lynn? How you doing this morning? True Texan in the house. What's up with you, man? What's up with you, brother? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Appreciate you. What up, Joseph Roll? How you doing this morning? Thank you very much. Nelly. What up, Billy W? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. Oh, yeah. What's up, Karen Wilson? How you doing this morning, sister? What up, Catherine? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up as well. Oh, yeah. Beth Ann, what's going on with you? Cool Ramon in the building. I be pro Doge. Okay. I hear that. What up, Shelby? How you doing this morning? Hobo Prospecting. Appreciate you pulling up. Good morning to you, brother. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What up, Crystal? Gina King, Steve Edminster. What's going on? Bill Mortlock, the Mississippi. Appreciate you. Mississippi in the building. What up, David? How you doing this morning? All right. We got Tennessee in the house, Las Vegas in the house. What up, EDH? How you doing this morning, brother? Appreciate you pulling up. John Kramer out of Michigan in the building. H-Town in the house. What up, Derek? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. Billboard Bills. Shout out to you. Yeah, it says when making a coffee on the Keurig, make sure you put the mug in place before running the machine. Yes. Trust me, I have done that before. Now, I'm going to say this. We have a Keurig. I really just use it for hot water because I do instant because I drink mushroom coffee at this point, which is delicious. And for those that are going to ask me in the chat or in the comment section, what type of mushroom coffee do I drink? I drink 10 mushroom coffee. 10 mushroom coffee is delicious, my opinion, but I do like it a lot. It still has a little bit of coffee in it, but nowhere near, as much as just drinking regular coffee. And that regular coffee, man, it was really starting to mess with my stomach. I think all the acid and stuff, was really bothering me. So making the switch, man, it's been a whole heck of a lot better. Whole heck of a lot better. What's up? We got Louisiana in the building. Appreciate that. West Virginia Wyatt in the building. What up, Regina? How you doing this morning, sister? Appreciate you pulling up. Glad to see you in here this morning. Oh yeah, make sure y'all hit that like button for me. The goal, I'd like to see us get, 300-400 likes today. So just make sure you guys stay on top of that. Blues, if you can you make sure you stay on top of that? What up, Leonardo? How you doing this morning? San Diego in the building. It's early out there, man. What's up, Carissa? How you doing? Florida in the house. Appreciate you pulling up. I hope you are voting for Representative Byron Donalds down there. He's officially kicked off his campaign down there in the great state of Florida. Hopefully you plan on supporting him, down there. What up, James Smith? Jacksonville, Duval in the building. What's happening with you, brother? I hope you plan on voting for Byron Donalds down there in Florida. He officially kicked off his campaign. Of course, the Democrats, they coming for him. And I think we may talk about that in a video later today, because I don't know if you guys had a chance to see it, but Jasmine Crockett has some real slick stuff to come out of her mouth talking about him and his family, which I just always find that just really, really rich. When you get these Democrats out here that want to talk about, the brothers that have married white women, to each his own. But no one ever says anything when Kamala Harris, it seems like all of them. Kamala Harris, who else? AOC, Ilhan Omar, Ketanji Brown Jackson, who else? Don Lemon. These are the people that will say that, these folks are the enemy, but yet they're married to him. It is just baffling to me, how ridiculous these people are. And to be honest with you, I don't understand how you could deal with someone. You could marry someone or be in a relationship with someone who gets on TV and talks about you and your people. I just don't understand it. How do you do it? How do you do it? I just don't get it. What up, Shirley Warner? Chesapeake, Virginia in the building. That's that Hampton Roads area. I used to live out that way back in the day. I just don't understand people like that, man. I really don't. What up, James? We got Georgia in the building. What's going on with you? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Yeah, Lori Austin said it's 6:30 in the morning out there. Yeah, 6:40 now. Spokane, Washington in the building. It's early out there. What's up, Aaron? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. Now, Regina, she's still talking. She got the whole coffee pot. That's old school. If you got that old school coffee maker, that's old school. You showing us what decade you were born in. Most of us, we have moved on to the single cup. Some people have gotten real fancy. What do they call those? The people that you can make that coffee on the pot. My wife, she has one upstairs. I can't think of the name of it though. It's not like a French brew or something like that. I can't think of the name of it. Maybe it is the cone drip. B, I know B, she would be somebody all fancy and stuff. Look at this. B says, I use a cone drip that just sits at the top of the mug. Pour hot water over fresh ground beans. Look at you. You are fancy, ma'am. Fancy. Oh, yeah, that's fancy. Those with that old school coffee pot, it smells good in the house, but I can't make all of that because I won't drink it. Oh man. What's up, Rita? How you doing this morning? Thank you very much. Appreciate that. She says, love your show. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thea Flies High, you're absolutely right. That's what I'm saying. I don't understand why these people continue to go that route when they're all connected. They're all connected. I just don't get it. I really don't. I just don't understand it. Appreciate that, Derek. He says, your energy is uplifting. You remind me to keep the faith every day. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you very much. I'm glad that, I'm having that type of effect on you, man. I hope that is the case. I want to make sure that, I shine some positivity, on a day-to-day basis in this crazy world, because there's so much craziness going on, man. At least, we can get a little bit of positivity, kicked off out here, through me and through others, here in the chat. So appreciate you guys. What up, Big Job Ford? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Carissa says she's got that coffee pot. That's what it is, the French press. Okay. Yeah, that's it does I mean, it does taste good, but that's real fancy, real fancy, real fancy. I'm just regular, Keurig. I get my hot water, I got my coffee, throw it in there, stir it up. We ready to go. We ready to go. That's what it is, Zephyr. It's the percolator. That's what it is, not the French press. My wife uses the percolator to make coffee a lot of the times. And a lot of people say that is like the best way to make coffee. People stand on that percolator, man, to make a really good cup of coffee. I've heard that. My wife, she uses that as well. Yep. If you are not watching on YouTube, you can also watch on X. I am streaming in both places. I was streaming on Instagram, but I really don't like how Instagram is when it comes to streaming. I really don't care for it too tough. So I'm not really on Instagram like that. From a streaming perspective, I am on there, just maybe put some videos up and things of that nature from time to time, or share some videos. But I am actively streaming on YouTube and X currently. And we'll try to keep that going as well. But let's kick things off. Let's get the show started, man. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you hit that like button. Super chats will stop the show. Super thanks will stop the show. Anybody that joins the ARP family, will stop the show and acknowledge them. Anybody that gifts an ARP family membership, we will stop the show and acknowledge them. I appreciate everybody that pulled up this morning. If you have not hit that like button already, please make sure you do so. If you have not shared the stream, make sure you do so. Share this, man. I'd like to see more and more people get in here and hang out with us, on a day-to-day basis, on a morning-to-morning basis. What up, Biggest Dickus? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Thank you very much. I don't know about that name, man. I don't know about that name. Goodness gracious. What's up, Robert? Good morning to you. Appreciate you pulling up. I don't know about that name. But let's get the show kicked off.
Thanks for having us and doing this. I know there's a lot of interest in this. First, let me start with you, Elon. What are the budgetary savings goals, and how much do you think you've achieved so far?
Our goal is to reduce the deficit by $1 trillion. From a nominal deficit of $2 trillion to try to cut the deficit in half to $1 trillion, or looked at it in total federal spending to drop the federal spending from $7 trillion to $6 trillion. We want to reduce the spending by eliminating waste and fraud, reduce the spending by 15%, which seems really quite achievable. The government is not efficient, and there's a lot of waste and fraud. So we feel confident that a 15% reduction can be done without affecting any of the critical government services.
I'm going to talk to all the guys.
If not making it better.
I'm going to talk to all the guys here about the specifics. But for you, what's the most astonishing thing you've found out in this process?
The sheer amount of waste and fraud in the government. It is astonishing. It's mind-blowing. We routinely encounter wastes of $1 billion or more, casually. For example, like the simple survey that was
CNN being
really, we haven't seen.
Sorry about that. I had the wrong video. Shout out to my guy, Greg.
Joe Gebbia,
let it play, though.
Airbnb co-founder, Brad Smith, the healthcare entrepreneur, and others. But it's interesting, very interesting that these are the men surrounding Musk. Men with long resumes is part of a plan to convey a very specific message about Musk and Doge, and a different one than Musk has so far been sending.
Absolutely. I mean, the imagery that you pointed out, Aaron, is, pretty remarkable to see. The fact that they're all men, all older men. I think your point about, none of the 19-year-olds being in the room shows that they are trying to be more taken more seriously, I think, for this interview. What I also believe and what I've been hearing is, we know that Musk has said that he wants Doge to be more transparent, but really we haven't seen a lot of that transparency. A lot of the criticism that we've heard about Doge so far and what they've been doing is that a lot of these cuts, a lot of their actions, a lot of them going in, those 19-year-olds going into these different agencies, is one of the criticisms is that it's been done in the dark and that they haven't been that public with it. And I think that's part of why they chose to do this interview. Another thing I noticed as well, just the mention of all men in that room, ago, Amy Gleason was named the acting director of DOGE, what was named from, USDS.
Yeah.
She was nowhere to be seen in that room either. And so that's very.
Oh, man. Okay. Before we get started, shout out to you, Big Job Ford, man. I hope all is well. I know your mother is, in hospice, and my prayers and thoughts, to you, and your family. I hope all is well. Hope all is well with you, man. The women over at CNN, man, they obviously visibly triggered, by this Doge interview, zeroing in on the fact that there were no women, in the room. And here's the deal, man. The Doge team, I mean, it isn't there, to check boxes. They're there to just check off real results. It's all just this feminist rhetoric, and they feel like there has to be representation of everybody in every space. And I just think that's ridiculous. I really do. I just think it's ridiculous. I mean, this Doge group, man, they are a no-nonsense, high-efficiency squad focused on fixing problems, not playing identity politics. And let's be honest, the media outrage, man, it feels more like a smokescreen. It's a way to steer the conversation away from what was actually said in the interview. And that's exactly why I wanted to discuss and react to the interview this morning. Because underneath all the noise, the Doge team dropped some seriously compelling stuff. So as you guys know, Elon Musk, he sat down with Special Report and Brett Baier, and what he said, man, it might make DC sweat. And as head of the Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, Musk and his squad of, 7 tech and business heavyweights, they pulled back the curtain on what might be the biggest government shakeup in decades. I mean, their mission, it's simple. It's very simple on paper. Cut government spending by 15% by rooting out waste and fraud. Musk called it completely doable. It's totally doable. And honestly, coming from the guy who lands rockets and sells flamethrowers for fun, I 100% believe him. The government's not efficient. And any of you guys in the chat, if you served in the United States military, you yourself, about the waste. You know about the fraud. You know about the $10 pack of pens. You know about computers being tossed out on an annual basis so that they can, quote unquote, spend the money up to the fiscal year. You know about buying new chairs and all types of stuff on an annual basis, just so you can make sure that your department gets the same amount or more money than you received the last time. I didn't understand it when I was younger. When I was in the military, I was from 1999 to 2004. I was a youngin' back then. Now, I really didn't understand what was happening, but I knew it didn't make sense. Every year, we're spending top dollar on some of the things that you could go and get at Office Max for a fraction of the cost. We're spending top of the line. The government is the worst purchaser of equipment. Everybody gets over on them. Everybody gets over on them. The government is not efficient. It just isn't. And honestly, I don't think it ever has been. I mean, there's a lot of waste. There's a lot of fraud. And the wild part is that Elon Musk, he's confident that they can do it without cutting a single critical service. No doom, no gloom, just trim the fat. And he wasn't alone. Those teammates like Steve Davis and Joe Gabia and others, they joined in, giving us a brief behind the scene look at what they're doing inside the IRS, Interior, Social Security, you name it. And then Musk dropped this line right here. He said that this is a revolution, maybe the biggest since the original revolution. And that's not just big talk, man. That's straight up founding father energy. We're going to get into this. We're going to get into it because I think it's important to check it out for real and not just see clips. I think it's important to just check it out and get a full understanding of what's happening. I mean, he closed it out, with the promise America's going to be in much better shape. It's going to be a fantastic future. So we're going to get into it. I know there was a couple of people, in the chat that I wanted to just acknowledge real fast. Chadrick, he said it. He said, Army veteran here. Why is you ain't lying? Yeah. Anybody that has served in the military, and I'm sorry for hitting the daggone mic, how much waste happens. We waste a lot. And that's just in the military. I could only imagine what it's like in the actual federal government itself. I can only imagine. I mean, it's ridiculous. And the thing is that a hit dog will holler. So the people that are out here, screaming that they shouldn't be doing this, they shouldn't be auditing the government, they shouldn't be, trying to figure out where the money is going. That's like the video that put out yesterday, with Jon Stewart and the guy Ezra, who just came out with a book, and he's on a tour right now, and they're talking about the waste, the $42 billion that evaporated into thin air, and the goal of that $42 billion was to bring broadband to rural areas so that the entire country can be connected. They spent $42 billion and didn't connect a single house. Not one rural home received broadband services. This is insane. And the crazy thing is, why spend the $42 billion when you have this thing called Starlink that could be used probably at a fraction of the cost, and it would make sure that the entire country has access to internet. The entire country would have access to internet by using Starlink. I don't understand why that wasn't even thought of. But what we also understand is that this Build Back Better thing, it's a WEF phrase. It's a World Economic Forum term. It's really that whole situation. It's really about just siphoning money American people. These people spent $42 billion to bring broadband to rural areas and didn't connect one house. Think about how much money they spent on these quote unquote EV chargers. They spent billions on that only to get 3 actual EV chargers. 3. At least they did put up something. At least they did do that. But it's outrageous, man. It's outrageous. The regulations and the oversight is just insane. And it's no wonder that these states that are ran by these people get ran into the ground. Yeah, Timothy, you're right. $8 or $9 billion spent on 3 EV charging stations. I mean, that's a waste. I mean, come on, man. It's ridiculous. It just doesn't make any sense, man. It just doesn't. And again, I apologize for the noise. I got people doing some work in my house, and it is what it is. We'll be straight, here in a couple of hours, but it is what it is. I didn't realize they were going to come first thing in the morning. But let's get into this video here. Give me a second. Let me pull this off. Throw this up. And we want to get into this, and we want to start things off here with what the goal is, and then we're going to let this thing play. I'll stop and interject. If any of you guys want me to stop it or interject, or you want anything to say, have anything to say, a super chat, we'll do that. Ask your question, and we'll get this thing going, and I'll stop and interject as I see fit. Let's go.
Elon, what are the budgetary savings goals, and how much do you think you've achieved so far?
Our goal is to reduce the deficit by $1 trillion. So from a nominal deficit of $2 trillion to try to cut the deficit in half to $1 trillion, or looked at it in total federal spending to drop the federal spending from $7 trillion to $6 trillion. We want to reduce the spending by eliminating waste and fraud, reduce the spending by 15%, which seems really quite achievable. The government is not efficient, and there's a lot of waste and fraud. So we feel confident that a 15% reduction can be done without affecting any of the critical government services.
I'm going to talk to all the guys.
If not making it better.
I'm going to talk to all the guys here about the specifics, but for you, what's the most astonishing thing you've found out in this process?
The sheer amount of waste and fraud in the government. It is astonishing. It's mind-blowing. We routinely encounter wastes of $1 billion or more, casually. For example, like the simple survey that was literally a 10-question survey that you could do with SurveyMonkey, cost you about $10,000. The government was being charged almost $1 billion for that.
For just the survey?
$1 billion for a simple online survey. Do you like the national park? And then there appeared to be no feedback loop for what would be done with that survey. So the survey would just go into nothing. It was like insane.
You technically are a special government employee, and You're supposed to be 130 days. Are you going to continue past that, or do you think that's what you're going to do? Or
Well, I think we will have accomplished most of the work required to reduce.
That's the problem with the government. When you a survey that could have been done for next to nothing, and then they turn around and use these consultant firms and all this other kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And it's just a way to launder money. And how much of that money gets cycled right back to the DNC and their campaign coffers? How much of it?
Reduce the deficit by $1 trillion within that time frame.
so in that time frame, 130
Yes.
days, and the process is a report at some point at 100 days, or
Not really a report. We are cutting the waste and fraud in real time. So every day that passes, our goal is to reduce the waste and fraud by $4 billion a day, every day, 7 days a week. And so far, we are succeeding.
and I'm going to talk of the specifics, but there obviously are Doge critics who are reading all kinds of stuff. Obviously, lawmakers on the other side of the aisle are attacking you, and they characterize the approach as this: fire, ready, and then aim. And how do you approach that? How do you respond to that?
Well, I do agree that we actually want to be careful in the cuts. So we want to measure twice, if not thrice, and cut once. Actually, that is our approach. They may characterize it as shooting from the hip, but it is anything but that. Which is not to say that we don't make mistakes. If we were to approach this with the standard of making no mistakes at all, that would be like saying someone in baseball's got to bat 1,000. That's impossible. So when we do make mistakes, we correct them quickly, and we move on.
Some people say this shouldn't take a rocket scientist. Steve Davis, you are a rocket scientist.
Used to be.
Yeah, I know. And now essentially you're the chief operating officer of Doge, day-to-day operations. Fair to say?
Yeah, part of the Doge team.
So how did you end up here? What's the biggest challenge you see?
The reason I'm here, which is probably for many, is that I think the goal is incredibly inspiring. I think most of the taxpayers in the country would agree that in order to have the country going bankrupt would be a very bad thing, and therefore the country going not bankrupt is a good thing. That all of us are willing to kind of put our lives on hold in order to do. I think the thing that's special right now is we actually believe there's a chance to succeed. That there's an administration that's supportive and a great cabinet and just a great group that will actually make success a possible outcome. And I think that's, given the inspiring mission and given the non-zero chance of success, it was worth doing.
I just like to.
That's what I don't think a lot of people understand. I don't think a lot of people don't understand that if we keep going at the rate that we're going, how much longer before the country goes completely bankrupt? We've been told that if they keep spending and keep doing what they're doing via Social Security by 2030, and they say, I think the number was like maybe 2032 or 2033, that Social Security could be defunct if we keep going at it the rate that we're going. They said 2034 Medicare and Medicaid services could just be defunct at that point. We can't keep operating the same way that we've been operating. We have $4 trillion in income, but $6 trillion in spending. That's a negative that's $2 trillion in the deficit on an annual basis. That's just not sustainable. It's just not sustainable. And you can't, people say, well, let's just print money and just pay it off. And then you make our money not worth anything anymore. I don't think, and the thing is that people don't understand that the American dollar is the currency that is used to sell, or used to purchase and sell gas and oil all across the world. So if if our country becomes defunct and our money becomes defunct, the control that we have around the world is pretty much a done deal, which is the reason why the BRICS nations popped up and the reason why they would like to move everybody to this cryptocurrency at least when it comes to, trading, internationally, because there's no more Bitcoin being printed. There isn't. That's the reason why. People don't understand that our currency, it's fiat. It's not based off of anything. It's based off of our economy. And if our economy goes away, we just blew up the dollar. We cannot continue to operate this way that we've been operating. And unfortunately, these Democrats, they just want to keep doing the same thing. And they've scared a lot of people into believing that, oh, I'm going to lose my Social Security, or I'm not going to get Medicare or Medicaid, so forth and so on, not realizing that, hey, if we keep going at the rate that we're going, all of that stuff's going away anyway.
Sort of reemphasize that point. The success of Doge is only possible with President Trump and with the outstanding cabinet that he selected. It would be impossible without the support of the president and the cabinet.
But you're finding the money. I mean, it's big numbers, right?
Yeah, like Elon said, the minimum impulse bid is often $1 billion. So, for example, the $830 million, which was the online survey, that's an enormous amount of money. That wouldn't have been found if the Doge team wasn't working with it, in that case, the Department of Interior. But then taking it one step further, Doge then publishes these things on our website for maximum transparency. So now the general public, it would have been impossible for the general public to have seen that. Now anyone can just log into doge.gov anytime and see these payments. As they're not yet in real time, they're close, but they'll probably be in real time within the next few weeks.
But the process it still involves Congress, right? At some level?
We try to keep Congress as informed as possible, but the law does say that money needs to be spent correctly. It should not be spent fraudulently or wastefully. It's not contrary to Congress to avoid waste and fraud. It is consistent with the law and consistent with Congress. And we've seen actually great support, at least from the Republican side of the House, and occasionally some Democrats too. It's nice to see people cross the aisle once in a while. But usually when they attack Doge, they never attack any of the specifics. So they'll say what we're doing is somehow unconstitutional or illegal or whatever. We're like, well, which line of the cost savings do you disagree with? And they can't point to any. And we list them all on doge.gov and the Doge handle on X. And you'll see just outrageous things, one outrageous thing after another.
Joe Gabbia, besides Elon, you're one of several billionaires here, co-founder of Airbnb, and you wanted to help out.
I bumped into Anthony and Elon probably back in February, and they told me something about a mine that was dealt with retirement, and they said they needed somebody to help out to fix retirement in the government. I love the challenge, so I jumped on board, and it turns out there is actually a mine in Pennsylvania that houses every paper document for the retirement process in the government. Now picture this. This giant cave has 22,000 filing cabinets, stacked 10 high to house 400 million pieces of paper. It's a process that started in the 1950s and largely hasn't changed in the last 70 years. And so as you dug into it, we found retirement cases that had so much paper, they had to fit it on a shipping pallet. So the process takes many months, and we're going to make it just many days.
Will it be digitized, or how?
Absolutely. So this will be an online digital process that will take just a few days at most. And I really think, it's an injustice to civil servants who are subjected to these processes that are older than the age of half the people watching your show tonight. So we really believe that the government can have an Apple Store-like experience, beautifully designed, great user experience, modern systems.
Because right now it's.
How many of you guys knew about this mine? If you knew about this mine that housed all of this government retirement paperwork from the civil servants, how many of you guys knew that this mine existed? I'm familiar with Iron Mountain. I'm very familiar with it. But I would assume that a lot of you guys aren't necessarily familiar with it. But how many of you guys knew that this thing existed? How many? I mean, this is crazy. But if you guys know anything about the government, it is so outdated, so antiquated. Back in my previous life, that's pretty much what I did. I did a lot of, I was on the tech side of things, but I did a lot of staffing and things of that nature for government agencies, government contracts out here in the DC area, or the DMV area, more or less, DC, Maryland, Virginia. And some of these systems are so outdated. So outdated. I mean, you would be surprised. Social Security Administration, oh my gosh. I'm not going to talk about it because I can't, but it is so outdated, so antiquated. Just to give you an example, it is so outdated that when a position comes up, there's no young people that have the qualifications to even do the job because they're not actually teaching the system that's being used there in colleges anymore. Hear me now. They're not teaching the systems that they're using out there in colleges anymore because no private sector business actually uses these systems. That's how outdated and antiquated. So when they go to hire, everybody is 50 plus. So much so that they're afraid because there's not going to be people to do the work because a lot of these folks are retirement. I've called people to get them out of retirement to come do a project, a contract job for 6 months, a year, because there's no young people doing the work. That's how outdated and antiquated these systems are. And that's Social Security Administration. And if I'm not mistaken, yeah, Social Security Administration and CMS, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, they're both, if you guys don't know, they're right outside of Baltimore City. They're in Baltimore County. That's where those departments are. And I mean, these systems are outdated. It's unbelievable. I couldn't even believe it. The government right now, the federal government, if I had to guess, they're probably 15 to 20 years behind where the private sector is when it comes to the usage of technology in their systems. At least 15 to 20 years.
It's by hand.
Yes, the retirement process is all by paper, literally with people carrying paper in manila envelopes into this gigantic mine.
So they can't retire more than a certain number every month?
Yes.
About 8,000 a month.
That's how the reason we discovered it was we were saying, like, well, let's encourage voluntary retirement. They said, well, the most they could do is 8,000 a month. And even under normal circumstances, it can take 6 to 9 months just to have your retirement paperwork processed. And they often get the calculations wrong. So we're like, well, why would it take so long to retire? And they're like, well, because of the mine. And we're like, what do you mean a mine? What's a mine got to do with retiring? And that's where we discovered that all the retirement stuff is still done by paper in a process that looks identical to what occurred in the 1950s. Like if we took a snapshot of the mine when it first started in the 50s to today, it looks the same.
It's amazing. So how long do you think it'll take to turn over?
We're working as fast as we can. Probably next couple of months we'll have this overhauled. And I really think, again, like, why are we subjecting our federal workers to processes that they actually have to go through a training just to retire from the government? There's a whole training program that people have to go through in order to retire. I think we can do better for them.
Aram Moganasi, Doge engineer. You go into these places, one of the more than a dozen engineers, first people to go into the agencies and view the computer data sets. Tell me what you're finding, and for people who don't understand how that process works, explain it for them.
Yeah, I'll say the first thing that got me really excited about Doge was learning basically the state of government computers. By some estimates, government IT costs about $100 billion, and it's funding systems that are over 50 years old, in the case of something like Social Security or the IRS. So really critical systems are old, they cost a lot of money to maintain, and they can be, the efforts to improve them are often very delayed.
Now I'm watching this for the first time. He said 40 to 50 years old. I said 15 to 20 years old. I was being nice. Oh, wow. And it makes complete sense. I'm telling you, the programming languages and things of that nature that they're using, I mean, old and outdated. Goodness gracious.
So I thought I'm a software engineer that maybe can make a difference here. And that's really what inspired me at a high level.
There's a lot of mystery about Social Security and a lot of words about it here's what Democrats have been saying about it.
It's absurd that Elon Musk is trying to eliminate billions of dollars from Social Security.
Elon Musk and President Trump have set their sights on cutting Social Security.
Their goal is clear: destroy Social Security from within.
You're in the building. I mean, you're in the computers. What's happening there? What are you doing?
Yeah, it doesn't line up with my experience on the ground. And I'll say the two improvements that we're trying to make to Social Security are helping people that legitimately get benefits, protecting them from fraud that they experience every day on a routine basis, and also make the experience better. And I'll give you one example is at Social Security, one of the first things we learned is that they get phone calls every day of people trying to change direct deposit information. So when you want to change your bank account, you can call Social Security. We learned 40% of the phone calls that they get are from fraudsters.
40%?
That's right. Almost half.
Yes, and they steal people's Social Security is what happens. Is they call in, they say they claim to be a retiree, then they convince the Social Security person on the phone to change where the money's flowing. It actually goes to some fraudster. This is happening all day, every day. And then somebody doesn't receive their Social Security. It's because of all the fraud loopholes in the Social Security system.
How do you reassure people that what you all are doing is not going to affect their benefits?
No, in fact, what we're doing will help their benefits. Legitimate people, as a result of the work of Doge, will receive more Social Security, not less. I want to emphasize that. As a result of the work of Doge, legitimate recipients of Social Security will receive more money, not less money.
All right.
I want to emphasize that point and let the record show that I said this, and it will be proven out to be true. Let's check back on this in the future.
So Washington.
Well, that's the other thing. Why hasn't the federal government been putting it out there? One, anybody from Social Security send an email out or something to anybody, that's on Social Security right now that, hey, if you receive a phone call about changing your direct deposit, do not take the phone call. Do not listen to them. Hang up on them immediately. Why hasn't that gone out? And what we do know is that these people go after senior citizens because a lot of them, they don't know any better. They don't know any better. And they're easy prey. We know this. They're easy prey. And they go after them. And the thing, last time I checked, Renee Suzanne, I don't think they email, they don't text message, and they for daggone sure don't call you when it comes, they don't do those types of things. But people need to be aware. And they probably know that this is happening and they don't care.
Washington Post, the Social Security Administration website crashed 4 times in 10 days this month because the servers were overloaded, blocking millions of retirees and disabled veterans from logging into their online accounts. Freaked people out. Is that going to change?
Yes, we're going to make sure that the website stays online.
Yeah, but is it a result of going in there or something you're doing?
No. The amount of issues that were the Social Security system are enormous. As an example, there are over 15 million people that are over the age of 120 that are marked as alive in the Social Security system.
And that's an accurate figure.
Yeah.
Correct.
15 million.
Correct. This has been something that's been identified as a problem, again, pre-existing problems since 2008 at least, from an IG report. So there were some great people working at the Social Security Administration that found this, 2008, and nothing was done. And so 15 to 20 million Social Security numbers that were clearly fraudulent were floating around that can be used only for bad intentions. There'd be no way to use this for good intentions. And so one of the things the Doge team is doing is carefully and very methodically looking at those and making sure that any fraudulent ones are eliminated.
Brad Smith, working at HHS, and obviously another element is Medicare and Medicaid, NIH. What are you finding?
Yeah. Well, I'd say there's a couple of things we're really committed to in our work at HHS. Number one, making sure we continue to have the best biomedical research in the world. And number two, making sure, which President Trump has said over and over again, that we 100% protect Medicare and Medicaid. But there's a lot of opportunity. So if I take NIH as an example, today, if you're an NIH researcher and you get a $100 grant at your university, today you get to spend 60 of that and your university spends 40 of that. The policy that we're proposing to make is that you get to spend 85 of that and your university spends 15. So that's more money going directly to the scientists who are discovering new cures. Another example at NIH is today they have 27 different centers. They got created over time by Congress, and they're typically by disease state or body system. There's 700 different IT systems today at NIH.
700 different IT systems.
IT software systems. They can't speak to each other.
So they don't talk to one another.
They have 27 different CIOs. And so when you think about making great medical discoveries, you have to connect the data.
Time out. You said 27 different chief information officers?
Correct.
And most of them are non-technical.
So there's a lot there.
There's a lot of opportunity. It will make science better, not worse.
And when I say that our job is tech support, I really mean it.
Yeah.
We have to fix the computers. If the computers can't talk to each other, you can't get research done. If the computers can't stay online, people won't receive their Social Security. So what we have here are a bunch of failing computer systems that are preventing people from receiving their benefits, that are preventing people from preventing research from happening, that are extremely vulnerable to fraud, and we're fixing it.
And does that include AI? Does that include?
Yeah, the crazy thing about the Social Security Administration, not Social Security Administration, I'm sorry, CMS, is, each state has its own Medicaid, Medicare services as well that is supposed to communicate with CMS. They don't have the ability, the computers don't have the ability to talk to each other. If you're not in this space, you wouldn't know that. And that's why, when you go from one state to the next, if any of you guys that use the services, Medicare services, and shout out to MPO Creations for the $9.99 super chat. Thank you very much. God bless you, sister. I appreciate you. Any of you guys, that have worked in the tech space or that have worked, have either just moved from one state to the next, the systems don't talk to each other. So when you go, let's say for instance, you're in, Maryland and you move to Tennessee, there's no way for those two states and the systems to talk to each other. You have to like manually do everything. It's ridiculous. We're in 2020s and the computer systems aren't talking to each other because whoever created this system, they created something that it just wasn't efficient. It's not effective. It's just so crazy. And I'm glad to see that this interview and hear that this interview happened because a lot of this that is happening, I knew about it because I've worked in the space. But I don't think a lot of people knew that, hey, they got computer systems that can't talk to each other. It's crazy, man. Crazy.
Kind of changing the system overall. That's, I guess, what people are afraid of, is they don't know what this is all looking like, and is it going to affect me in the long term?
It's going to affect them. It's going to affect people very positively. So the changes that we're doing here will ensure the solvency of the American government, of the United States of America. This is what we're trying to do, is ensure that people do receive their benefits in the future. And you can only receive your benefits if the country is operating in a healthy and competent way.
Up next, how the Doge team plans to streamline some federal jobs and agencies. And later, Elon Musk answers some of your questions that you asked via X. Anthony Armstrong, Doge, Office of Personnel Management, Morgan Stanley banker, M&A guy. Yeah. Money, and this is a lot of money sloshing around.
There's a lot of money sloshing around. There's a lot of money sloshing out the door. And if you look at the federal government and the way the workforce works, it's really a one-way ratchet over decades. So
it's only going up.
It's only going up. You never take it away. So that leaves you with duplicative functions, it leaves you with overstaffing, and it leaves you with functions in the wrong places. So a couple of examples. Duplicative functions. Brad mentioned 27 CIOs. If you kept going with Brad, he would talk about the communications office. I think you've got 40 distinct communications offices in HHS, right? Yeah.
40?
Yeah, and that's not unusual, by the way. Multiple offices like that.
It's also not making anyone healthy.
This is not about the employees there. There's many hardworking, well-meaning people who took these jobs. These jobs were out there. They applied for them. They took them. They're doing what's there. It's just that they're duplicating the effort of 40 offices. So you've got that. You've got overstaffing. A good example of overstaffing would be the IRS has got 1,400 people who are dedicated to provisioning laptops and cell phones. So if you join the IRS, you get a laptop and a cell phone, you're provisioned. So if each of those IRS officers or employees provisioned 2 employees per day, you could provision the entire IRS in a little more than a month. So 12 times a year, you can re-provision.
Why would you have 1,400 people whose only job it is to give out a laptop and a phone?
Right. The whole IRS could be handled once a month. So that doesn't make any sense. And President Trump's been very clear: it's scalpel, not hatchet, and that's the way it's getting done. And then once those decisions are made, there's a very heavy focus on being generous, being caring, being compassionate, and treating everyone with dignity and respect. And if you look at how people have started to leave the government, it is largely through voluntary means. There's voluntary early retirement, there's voluntary separation payments. We put in place deferred resignation, the 8-month severance program. So there's a very heavy bias towards programs that are long dated, that are generous, that allow people to exit and go and get a new job in the private sector. And you've heard a lot of news about risks, about people getting fired. At this moment in time, less than 0.15, not 1.5, less than 0.15 of the federal workforce has actually been given a RIF notice. So
they're selected if they're leaving.
It is
basically almost no one's gotten fired. That's what we're saying.
Tom Krause, working at Treasury, you are having access to the payment system, oversees all the outgoing payments. Essentially, those payments were going places we didn't know where they were going, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the case, Brett. As an ex-CFO of a big public tech company, really what we're doing is we're applying public company standards to the federal government. And it is alarming how the financial operations and financial management is set up today. There is actually really only one bank account that's used to disperse all monies that go out of the federal government.
Time out. One bank account.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
It's a big one. A couple weeks ago, it had $800 billion in it, but it's the Treasury General account.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Like watching this, it's like every 2 to 3 minutes, I just find myself just shaking my head like, what in the heck, man? I just find myself shaking my head. And the thing is that people, you got these Democrats fighting this tooth and nail. This needs to be done. It has to be done. It has to. It has to. It's just, hey, Renee Suzanne, this is beyond sickening. It really is. It's beyond sickening. And what's even more sickening is the people that are fighting it. The people that have decided that, hey, this isn't a good thing, they're fighting it. Now, when they come back and say, hey, we'll just say less than 1%. Less than 1% of government workers have actually been fired. They've either taken the severance package or they've taken an early retirement. I actually know a person personally. I mean, being out here in the DMV, I guess is a little different because it touches home here. It's really touching us out here in Maryland because a lot of people work for the federal government, whether directly or indirectly. What they're not telling you, though, is that the contractors, they're good because typically a contract, when you get a contract from the federal government, it's a 5-year contract. So the contractors are straight. And I would assume that a lot of these federal workers, they're going to go be contractors. I would assume. So, but I know somebody who just decided like, hey, they offered me, severance. And I think he got severance plus the early retirement. He's like, no brainer for me. I'll take this money and I'm gone. And I think a lot of people feel the same exact way. But you got the left and you got these legacy media folks really fear-mongering people because the majority of the country don't really understand what's going on out here, in this market. And it's no different than when they overblow anything that happens. A lot of times, they'll make things sound way worse than what it actually is. But let's keep going. And what's going on, RJ Hudson? Appreciate you pulling up this morning, brother.
So when you hear, some of my colleagues here, what they're talking about in terms of the fraud, you have to ask, well, why is this allowed to happen at a financial level? Well, it's actually quite simple but alarming. The Treasury up until now, and thanks to President Trump, we're fixing this. In fact, there was an executive order that he just signed the other day, which is protecting America's bank account because it really is the taxpayers' money. One, we're changing the culture. The culture is been not a lot of caring and not a lot of commitment to doing what's right relative to financial operations. There's $500 billion of fraud every year. There's hundreds of billion dollars of improper payments, and we can't pass an audit. The consolidated financial report is produced by Treasury, and we cannot pass it on. We have material weaknesses. What that means is that if I was a public company CFO, I would effectively be removed. I couldn't file financial statements. I couldn't issue securities, which of course we depend on. Can't pass an audit.
Right. The federal government cannot pass an audit. It's impossible. In fact, in order to pass an audit, you need the information necessary to pass an audit. You need to have the payment codes, you need to have the payment explanation, and you need to have a person you can contact to understand why that payment was made. None of those things were mandatory. Until just recently, just a few weeks ago. In fact, maybe last week?
Yeah, we're serving 580 plus agencies. And up until very recently, effectively they could say make the payment and Treasury just sent it out as fast as possible. No verification. And so what we're doing is what any household would do. But imagine you're a household, you have a bank account, everyone has an ATM card connected to that account, everyone has a checkbook connected to that account. It's not just your children, it's not just your parents, it's your in-laws, it's your extended family, and they all can go to the account and disperse funds. No questions asked, no justification. No verification.
Up next, the Doge team targets government contracts, and we'll show you what they're finding. Tyler Hassan, Interior Department, you're.
Hey, RJ, no one's going to jail. I don't think so. I don't think anybody's going to go to jail. I am glad that they are, catching this, they're fixing it. But, like Eli had just said, they were able to just have dispersing, the U.S. Treasury just disperse money, no checks and balances, no anything. So I don't think anybody's going to jail because maybe technically they hadn't necessarily done anything illegal, maybe immoral, maybe, things that we don't necessarily care for, we don't like. But the way that they've been operating may not be considered, quote unquote, illegal. That's just my opinion. But I could be wrong on that. I'd love to see some heads roll on it, but I highly doubt. Don't hold your breath on that. I highly doubt that that's going to happen.
You're a former oil company CEO. You're reviewing contracts before they're approved for funding. What are you finding?
Well, Elon and Steve kind of stole my thunder a little bit, but I actually found that customer service survey contract. I actually have an example of one right here. I could have done this in high school. And
Is that right?
I found it.
That bad?
I found it on the weekends because under the Biden administration, there was no departmental oversight within the Department of Interior whatsoever. None. We are now reviewing every single contract, every single grant, and when things come to my attention that don't make sense, I'm bringing them to Secretary Burgum, and he's been fantastic. He's a businessman. He's very supportive of Doge. It's been wonderful to work with him.
Is the battle between government of decades and decades of buildup and business, which you guys are, is that like a train hitting each other? I mean, it seems like it's pretty disruptive.
Well, this is a revolution, and I think it might be the biggest revolution in government since the original revolution. But at the end of the day, America is going to be in much better shape. America will be solvent. The critical programs that people depend upon will work, and it's going to be a fantastic future. But are we going to get a lot of complaints along the way? Absolutely. You know, one of the things I learned at PayPal was you know who complains the loudest and with the most amount of fake righteous indignation? The fraudsters. It's a tell. Some of these NGOs that are crazy, like the $2 billion to Stacey Abrams' NGO.
Don Dottie, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, brother.
That basically doesn't exist, and suddenly gets $2 billion awarded from the federal government. She has why? And there are many such cases like that.
I think that most people, common sense wise,
and suddenly gets $2 billion awarded from the federal government. She has why? And there are many such cases like that.
I think that most people, common sense wise, would say the fraud's got to end.
Yeah.
They're concerned about the 94-year-old mother who skips a check or somehow doesn't get what she's supposed to get.
Right. And what we're trying to say is actually that the 94-year-old grandmother is actually, as a result of Joe Doge's work, going to get her check. She's not going to be robbed by fraudsters like she's getting robbed today. And the solvency of the federal government will ensure that she continues to receive those Social Security checks, that Medicare continues to work, without which we're all doomed. The reason we're doing this is because if we don't do it, America's going to go insolvent, we're going to go bankrupt, and nobody's going to get anything.
Why are you guys all doing it? I mean, you can pipe up, but you don't have to be here, right? I mean, you don't have to be doing this.
I have blessed with 4 beautiful children, my wife and I. But we have a real fiscal crisis, and this is not sustainable. And what's worse, back to my children and everyone else's children, is we are burdening them with that debt, and it's only going to grow.
See, there's not a lot of hierarchy here. You guys are kind of all approaching it in different, silos, but with the same kind of goal, right? I mean,
I don't know if you guys recall, but last year, before the election and leading up, almost for a year leading up to the election, I kept telling people that, hey, this election, it isn't about us. It isn't about those of us that, our kids, that are, middle-aged Americans or, older Americans that, probably have grandkids. This is about our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. That's what this is about. The reality is, what kind of country, what kind of nation are we trying to leave to them? Shout out to Red Bucks for the $4.99 super sticker. Appreciate you, brother. God bless you. Thank you for supporting the channel. That's what this is about. What kind of nation are we leaving our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren? That's what this is about. So many people want to just keep the status quo. And to be honest with you, everybody's in on this, right, left, everybody's in on this. They've been doing this for a long time. And to be honest with you, even those who work for the federal government, they know that it's been inefficient. They know that it's, inefficient and wasteful. They know it as well, but they didn't care because it's not their money. At least that's the way they looked at it. It's not their money, but they know it. But the reality of it is that this isn't about us. It isn't. It's about what type of nation are we leaving to our children, to our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren? What are we leaving to them? Are we putting them in a position where the country goes bankrupt and the next thing you know, they're a part of this one world government and because of our poor choices, our fiscal irresponsibility, we've left our grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and great-great-grandchildren to be slaves? And they'll look at us and be like, man, they fumbled the bag. It's their fault. And they wouldn't be wrong. They wouldn't be wrong.
And this is really Silicon Valley private sector colliding with government.
Yeah, exactly. And we're headed in a bad path, but the chance of success exists. And just the one that just is in my head right now, which is a fairly mundane one, but I think is very illustrative, is credit cards. There are in the federal government around 4.6 million credit cards for around 2.3 to 2.4 million employees. This doesn't make sense.
Right.
And so one of the things all of the teams have worked on is we've worked with the agencies and said, do you need all of these credit cards? Are they being used? Can you tell us physically where they are?
I hope they're getting frequent flyers.
Actually, on a different note, the rewards program the federal government has is actually not very good. That's a whole other.
It's a negotiation.
Right, yeah, exactly. But so far, the teams have worked together, and they've reduced it from 4.6 million to 4.3 million. So
we're taking it easy. But clearly there should not be, more, there should not be more credit cards than there are people. Yeah.
Joe, middle-level employees, are they seeing a benefit to being empowered by taking out bureaucracy? I mean,
absolutely. I mean, I think what you're seeing is taking the best of Silicon Valley and the business world and bringing it into the government. We're bringing the best practices and the best methodologies, and people are inspired, right? Especially on the retirement process, which I could speak to. They've been trying to modernize and get off of paper since early 2000s, very unsuccessfully. Every attempt has gone over budget and been canceled because it hasn't been successful. And so, I showed up and I feel like I'm here because it's an interesting problem. We can use design to solve it and good engineering and really create a better experience for everybody.
We're talking about elementary financial controls that are necessary for any company to function. So, like, if the federal government, if a commercial company operated the way the federal government does, then it would be immediately go bankrupt. It would be delisted. The officers would be arrested. The changes we're putting in place will enable the federal government to pass an audit. It will enable taxpayers to know where the money is going and know that their hard-earned tax dollars are being spent well. The ways that the government is defrauded is that the computer systems don't talk to each other. So if the computer systems don't talk to each other, then you can exploit that gap, and fraudsters exploit that gap, take advantage. For example, there were over $300 million of Small Business Administration loans that has been given out to people under the age of 11.
Well, actually, to add to it, it's 300 million under the age of 11 and over 300 million to over the age of 120.
Definitely
small business loans.
Correct.
Yes. The oldest American is 114. So it's safe to say if their age is 115 or above, they're fake. Or they should be in the Guinness Book of World Records. And we should not be giving out loans to babies. So the youngest recipient of a Small Business Administration loan is a 9-month-old, which is a very, very precocious baby we're talking about here. So obviously it was just fraudulent. And they do terrible things. They actually will see that a kid's been born. They will steal that kid's social security number and then take out a loan and leave that kid with a bad credit rating. There was literally a baby. The terrible things are being done is what we're saying.
And how
we're stopping these terrible things.
And you can stop it? I mean,
we are stopping it.
The reason this is happening is because the two systems are not talking to each other.
Yes.
Right. And so you don't know at the Small Business Administration that you're giving a loan to a 9-month-old, which happened in one case, because you're not cross-referencing that with the Social Security Administration data that has birth dates. So that very, very simple fix eliminates tremendous fraud. And that there are multiple systems across the government where the systems are not speaking with one another. And if you just solve that simple problem, you would solve a huge amount of fraud.
Are you surprised?
So one of the ways that, like one of the key tricks that the fraudsters pull is that they will use the fact that someone is marked as live, and as sort of just that Social Security number is marked as live in Social Security, and then get disability and unemployment insurance for a dead person. Because the databases don't talk to each other, all they got was from Social Security is like, is this person alive? Yes, they're not alive. It's falsely marked. Person is falsely marked as alive in Social Security, but they didn't. But that person, a fraudster can now get unemployment and disability from a dead person. This is happening all the time at scale.
Are you surprised at some of the legal efforts and some of the judges that have weighed in? There's about 8 or 10 now of these cases that are at least temporary holds. They're being challenged by the DOJ.
Right.
Are you surprised by that pushback?
Well, the D.C. Circuit is notorious for having a very far-left bias. And when you look at the people close to some of these judges, where are they working? Oh, they're working at these NGOs. Oh, they're the ones getting this money. Does that seem like a system that lacks corruption? It sounds like corruption to me.
Last thing, do you guys all see this as a patriotic duty? Is that really what this is about?
It's essential.
I do, 100%. I was running 5 businesses in Houston, and I left that. I left great people to do this, and my wonderful wife said, go for it. And here I am. But I feel like this is me giving back to the country.
If we don't do this, we're sunk. Unless this exercise is successful, the ship of America will sink. That's why we're doing it.
Well, gentlemen, I really appreciate the time today, and hopefully it took some of the myth and mystery out of DOJ and what's happening behind the scenes.
Oh, man. Yo. Crazy. I mean, the fact that the systems aren't talking to each other is just, I'd say it's unbelievable, but it's not, because it's the government. These are conversations that we used to have when I was when working in the office pre the shutdown. These are the kind of conversations that we used to have. Seriously. These are the kind of conversations that we used to have, because my job at that time was to place people, in these contracts, work on at these different federal agencies. And these are the types of conversations, like, it's unbelievable, but that they cannot communicate with each other. Unbelievable. Those are the kind of conversations that we were having way back when. And to see it come out to the masses, because I know there are a lot of people in this country that had no idea that the government was this antiquated, this outdated, this inefficient, this, I mean, it's just crazy. And I think so many people thought that the government was better than what it actually is. And this right here just exposed them all. It exposed them all. And this is what we're talking about right here. They have a website, doge.gov. You can go check it out and see everything that they're doing. When legacy media tells you, hey, they're not being transparent, it's not true. They're posting this information on X. They're posting this information, what they're uncovering and what they're finding on the website itself. This is happening. They're attempting to be as transparent as they can possibly be. I want to open this up to anybody that would like to call in today. It is a good Monday morning. I'd like to hear from you guys. If anybody would like to pull up, if you have a question, if you want to add anything to what was discussed or what you heard today, I'd love to hear from you guys. The link has been pinned. So just click that link, and pull up. You can turn your camera on. You don't necessarily have to turn your camera on. But I do ask that you have YouTube or whatever muted, or X muted in the back, so we don't have that feedback ring. What's going on, T.A. Caskey? Appreciate you pulling up this morning, brother. As always, thank you very much for pulling up. Appreciate you. Oh, Eric Smith said his break ends in about 5 minutes. Yeah, man, this is it's crazy, but I'm glad. One, there's a couple of things about this. I'm glad that this is happening. I am really, really glad that they did this interview. The people need to see this. They need to hear this. Now, if anybody ever worked for the government, if anybody ever served in the military, you know how wasteful, it is. But to find out the fraud, and the fraud is able to happen because of those gaps in the system. When you have computer networks and departments that can't communicate with each other, it makes it very easy, for fraud to be perpetuated against them. It's really, really simple. There's no real checks and balances there. There's no real checks and balances. Christy, you said you have a short story to tell? Oh, all right. We got Renee Suzanne in the building. Thank you very much. What's up, Renee Suzanne? How you doing this morning, sister?
Hey.
You doing all right?
When they were talking about the senior citizens and whatnot that are being scammed, as well as social security numbers being taken from children when they're just babies, you don't get out of the hospital without filling out that form for a social security number for that baby. And the hospital actually files it like, oh no, I think you do that. They file the birth certificate. Either way, one or the other. But yes, I've known of children who end up turning 16 and they go for their driver's license and their first job and find out they're like in debt so bad, and like with creditors coming after, that would be coming after them, except that the addresses are, changed. My father has actually received a phone call where all he did was say hello. They listed his name, his address, his house phone, his cell phone, his birth date, his social security number, what is your military number when you get out? Your DD, the
DD 214 number.
Yeah. They knew all of that, all of it. And my sister used to work for the Social Security Administration, and she said, short of going into witness protection, no one gets a new Social Security number. No one.
No. Mm-mm.
And
No,
so
not at all.
this just goes on and on and on. And my dad's lost probably over and it happened as soon as my stepmother died, and he was alone. And he's probably lost over $150,000.
Oh my goodness. And that's why it's important to have family close, especially, and or to stay close to, your senior citizens or the elders in your family, because they're easily taken advantage of. You know, I've had this conversation with my grandma, and I've had to tell her, I was like, hey, if anybody is calling you about anything with Social Security, anything about tolls, any of these things, it's a scam. It is a scam. They do not call you. They will send you snail mail.
Yeah.
But they will not call you. They will not send you a text message.
You. No.
You will get snail mail. Unfortunately, that's how the government is still working. They still send snail mail through the USPS. But you're not going to get a phone call about any of these things. You're not. And you're not going to get a text message. You're not.
No links. Click on no links. I tried to.
Don't click on any.
I've told my dad over and over again. Click on no links. Don't call any numbers back. Don't give out any information. And he's had to change bank accounts. He's had his debit card frozen over and over and over and over again because of things that he had to dispute. And then there's rules about if you dispute X number of times, then they won't let you have a debit card from that bank anymore. So he gets punished. And his credit rating is in the toilet because of all of it. And it's a mess. It's a mess that I don't even know if some of those companies who say they help you fix situations like this, I don't even know if in particular my dad's is one that can be completely undone like that.
I don't know, but I mean, that just shows you how important family is.
Yep.
It really does.
Yep.
Because they understand, they prey on our elders, and they also understand that a lot of these people aren't, real computer savvy. They're not technologically sound and savvy there, and they take advantage of it. They take advantage of it. So it's important, it's the technology that they're not savvy. It's that they're older and lonely and possibly living alone, isolated, and that because they're of retirement age, that there's probably some money there somehow. Either a retirement fund or a stream of money that comes in on a regular basis. Those are the top three reasons. And we did find in one instance where they had bought a whole bunch of brand new iPhones, like four to six of them, on his AT&T account. And then he started getting bills, though. What they didn't realize is we would get itemized bills. And they were charging him every month for international texting. So we had the phone numbers of where they were texting to. And it was all Nigeria. Oh my goodness.
And I said, Dad, do you know
going on over there?
Do you know what happens? I said, and then they sell these lists. They realize that this is a number that, is active and whatever else. These groups, they sell these lists.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then you're being bombarded.
Easy marks too. Yeah, they sell the list of the easy marks.
Exactly.
And they keep going at like, hey, if you got them, you probably could get them as well.
Yep.
Before a family member or somebody catches a hold of it, and before you know it, like you said, they've ran up. They've either gotten credit cards in their name, ran those up and maxed them out. But it's just unfortunate, man. The kids. I've heard of a few people who parents opened up credit cards and things of that nature in their name, and then next thing you know, they're trying to do something as an adult, and they find out like, oh yeah, you owe $10,000 from 10 years ago, and they're like, wait, I didn't do that. Well, somebody did it.
Yeah.
Or they put the light bill or cable bill or something like that in your name, and then they didn't even pay that. I mean, that's messed up to do your children like that, man.
It is.
You set them up for failure before they even start.
Right, but these also strangers will do it. And when I was probably in my early 30s, there was a big problem, at least we heard about it anyway, in the Chicago area where it was illegal migrants that would get a hold of these children's and babies' social security numbers.
Mhm.
And that's how they got the job. And that's how, supposedly legally, and tried to slip under the radar.
When the systems don't talk to each other, there's no checks and balances there.
And it's all on paper.
And it's all on paper, and it moves really, really slow. If you know anything about the government, it's really
it's
slow.
wait, hurry up and wait.
Fast. Exactly. Hurry up and wait. They do nothing fast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But I appreciate you pulling up, Renee. Let me get Christy on the line. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Bye. You too.
Hey, Christy, how you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
I wanted to tell a story about how I found you.
Okay, cool.
I was having a really bad day. I was feeling sad. I can't remember exactly what it was about, but I started scrolling through YouTube and you were live. You were on a jog or something in the morning. I don't know if you remember. And
Was
there
this
was just
after the election?
yes.
Okay,
Yes. And
I
I
remember
was
that. Yeah.
I was really worried about the transfer of power. I was very nervous about it. And I told you that, and you looked right in the camera and you said, Christy, don't worry, pray. And it made me feel better. And I've been a huge fan ever since.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah. And I love everyone
you.
in the chat. Oh my gosh. But it's too early for me to be on camera.
Understood.
A little too early. But I wanted
Well,
to say that and just
awesome.
bless you because you really helped me that day.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
And thank
and
you for
that's all I
supporting me. I
have.
see you in the chat. I see you in the chat on a day-to-day basis. So thank you. I appreciate you.
Okay. Bye.
All righty. Take care, Christy.
You too.
Awesome. Shout out to Christy. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that, man. That makes me feel good, man. It really does. That makes me feel good, man. Wow. Hopefully I can get somebody else to pull up. We had 2 people pull up this morning. Last week we only had the 1. And my apologies for Friday. It was the panel show, and I wanted to do call-ins, but the panel lasted way longer than I expected. I did not realize that thing was going to go 2 hours. I did not expect for us to go 2 hours. I figured, we'd wrap, hour and a half, and then, I'd spend 30 minutes. Maybe we'd open it up and see if we could get people to call up. Yeah, that didn't happen. But I apologize. But I hope you guys enjoyed the show on Friday, man. I thought it was awesome to have all those guys on there. Minister Denzel and my guy Marcelo Grasso from the Cycle of Judges podcast. And, we had Regina Connell on there from West Virginia Wire. We had my guy DeAndre from Detroit HPTV. I thought it was a great conversation. And I enjoyed, having them on, man, and just, being able to bounce ideas and to just have a real conversation. Going back and watching it, my wife, we both sat down and watched it over the weekend. And just going back and watching it, it seemed like I was watching a conversation that was happening right at my house. And it was a group of people just having a good conversation about a plethora of topics out there. And I was even engaged watching it and just going back and watching the playback. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully that'll be something that will continue to happen, on a week-to-week basis. I enjoyed it. I just did not expect that it would go 2 hours. Wow. But it did go by pretty fast. It did go by pretty fast, man. But all right, we'll leave it open for a little bit and we'll see what's going on in the chat. Shout out to MPO Creations. Thank you. Thank you for rocking and supporting. Billy W, she says, thanks for sharing, Renee and Christy. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, too, for pulling up this morning. PK Krillin said he's not feeling well, so y'all make sure y'all send some prayers out there for PK Krillin, man. In the name of Jesus, you are healed. He does say, by his stripes, you are healed. Not you will be, not you were, but you are. So, you are healed. T.A. Cassie said he's too busy eating lunch. All right, what you eating on over there, TA? We almost on the same thing. It sounds like it's about, it's still early out here, man. TA eating lunch at daggone 10 something in the morning. It's too early. Oh yeah. But I appreciate you all pulling up and rocking with me. I hope the noise in the back wasn't too loud. Like I said, I have some people in my house doing some work. We're getting some things done. The past 2 years last year and I guess going into this year has been a year of things needing to be repaired in my house. It's been ridiculous, man. The life of a homeowner. I mean, it's a good thing, but being a homeowner can stink at times. Just spending money on things that need to be, fixed, repaired, or replaced in your house, man. It can be, it can be something else. But I appreciate you all pulling up. As always, thank you. Hopefully we will see you all tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. EST. Appreciate that. But I appreciate the love, man. Appreciate the support. Shout out to the Blues, Renee Suzanne, T.A. Caskey, B, Zephyr K9. Appreciate you all for keeping things civil in the chat. Shout out to all the ARP family members. Appreciate everybody that supported the channel financially today. Appreciate that. Gerard Caswell, EPO Creations, and Red Bucks. Thank you all for supporting the channel financially. And we'll catch up with you all a little later on today via some form of video or something along those lines, and obviously live stream tomorrow. Shout out to you, RJ Hudson. As always, appreciate you pulling up. Hey, keep God first in your life. Stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you all. Thanks. Peace.
Vibes so raw, can't hide the truth. Words so sharp.